At a time when information continues to come at us faster and faster, sometimes you need to hit pause and rewind. NPR's Throughline takes you back in time to the source of the news stories filling your feed. Find NPR's Throughline wherever you get your podcasts.
The field of mental health counseling is growing rapidly, and Richmont Graduate University can equip you with everything you need as a licensed professional counselor while integrating your faith into your clinical practice. Programs are offered in Atlanta, Chattanooga, and online. Apply today at richmont.edu. That's RICHMONT.edu.
Welcome back to another week of Political Breakfast. We are so glad that you are here and listening right here on WABE. We are all here today, Strategist Brian Robinson and Tharon Johnson, and our producer, Lily Oppenheimer, also here after a pretty busy weekend. And it is time for March Madness, guys. It's March Madness time. How excited are you about that?
I'll let Tharon start with that. I'm a Georgia Bulldog fan, so I kind of pretend that college basketball doesn't exist. Right.
You know where I'm going to go here. I mean, and this is no shade on the wonderful team of people who are working on sports betting down the legislature. But, Lisa, this is just another constant reminder where you have all these emails going out. I think I'm going to probably do 2 brackets this year to really just get together with a bunch of friends and select some teams. And what it does for me also is that I start tuning in to college basketball usually around February to try to get an understanding of what's going on and watch the conference titles. But I think it's going to be exciting.
Yeah, for sure. My daughter went to UK, so I got to pull for Kentucky always.
Sure, yeah.
A mainstay there, yeah.
This is their time of year.
The last time we talked, that decision regarding Judge McAfee's decision regarding Fani Willis and Nathan Wade had not come down yet, but it came down Friday. And both of you predicted that the judge would probably split the cookie, and that's exactly what he did. So any real surprises? Tharon, we'll start with you first.
This is sort of the thing that we were all waiting on. And, the Judge McAfee definitely took his time. I want to commend him for allowing the defense and the prosecution, but more importantly, the defense, to really get all the facts out that they had, all the things that they were alleging. And, even his ruling, while he gave the district attorney, Fani Willis, ultimatum pretty much, either you go, or if you stay, Nathan Wade can't stay with you. And, Nathan Wade did the honorable thing by going ahead and resigning, which is something that I said that he should have probably considered doing a little earlier. But I got a little bit of pushback when I said that recently on a television show, because some folks reminded me that the Trump team, no matter what, was going to be laser-like focused on trying to delay this trial. And so I think it was a win-win-win. It was a win for Judge McAfee to, in a very deliberate, strategic way, to sort of give Republicans what they wanted, and that is to remove either District Attorney Fani Willis or Special Prosecutor Nathan Wade out the case. So he was able to basically give her a choice on that. And I think Fani Willis gets a win because now she continues to basically be able to prosecute the other 15 co-defendants that also include the former president. And then also I think the Republicans got a win because they've succeeded in delaying this trial. They've succeeded in messing it up and making it into a reality TV show, so to speak. And so I think everyone comes out with a win. But then I know we're going to talk about this later, but how does this affect electoral outcomes? How would this affect Fani Willis's campaign? How would this affect the judge's campaign? And does this help or hurt the Trump campaign as well?
Yeah, where does it go from here, Brian? Because we were just talking a few minutes ago about how harsh McAfee was. He didn't let Willis or Wade get away with anything. He was saying that my ruling is no indication that the court condones this tremendous lapse in judgment or the unprofessional manner of the district attorney's testimony during the evidentiary hearing.
I think Tharon hit on some important points for us. How does this impact Fani Willis's race, Judge McAfee's race, the Trump campaign, and to some degree the Biden campaign as far as being able to go on offense on these felony charges? Because this is a political show. But I will say, yes, we were right. We called the split the baby decision, and I do think there is politics around it. I was on Fox News Channel live Friday morning when the ruling came out, and so we were sort of responding on our toes without having read the entire opinion from Judge McAfee. And I will say, looking at it from that conservative media point of view that I was on the forefront of there, they were immediately like, how in the world could he let Fani Willis stay on the case if Nathan Wade is a problem? If he's a problem, she's a problem, because she's the one who brought him into the case. She was a 50-50 partner in this romantic relationship. She was the one who made the decision to bring on a romantic partner into this prosecution as that was ongoing. Judge McAfee seemed to acknowledge that the relationship was ongoing before she hired him onto the case, saying that there was an odor of mendacity about the testimony, particularly that of Terrence Bradley, Nathan Wade's former law partner, who had spoken very explicitly about the relationship in text messages, and then on the stand seemed to have lost all memory of that, seemed to have lost any definitiveness about when that started. So, I think, moving forward, this has really undermined the credibility of Fani Willis and of the case against President Trump and these other defendants, a case that is dependent on credibility. As I have said here before, this is a legal gray area at best. It depended on her being above board, and she hasn't been. I have said here several times I was particularly incensed by her speech at the church. I thought it was wildly inappropriate, both topic-wise and what she was doing in the midst of this case, making it about race when it wasn't. I was glad the judge took on that particular element of this because it was wildly unprofessional.
Well, Tharon, let me ask you, do you think her reputation has been hurt, moving forward? How bad of scar is this for Fani Willis?
So I think it depends on who you talk to, right?
Mm-hmm.
So let's just break this down. If you talk to a majority of Democrats, and not all of them, are in full support of District Attorney Fani Willis because they want her to do what her job requires her to do. And that is, once you go through a juror, once you get an indictment, prosecute people, right? And everyone that deserves their fair day in trial. And that's the thing that we're kind of getting overshadowed here, is that everybody wants to now all of a sudden just focus on this inappropriate relationship. But the fact of the matter is that there was enough evidence by a grand jury to indict 19 people who were involved in election interference and trying to overturn democracy and trying to find roughly 2,000 votes in Georgia. Let's not forget that is what these people have been indicted for. But if you talk to some Democrats, what they will say is that, yeah, it was definitely kind of embarrassing, poor sense of judgment. But ultimately, I think the majority of them want to get back to the case, right? They want to kind of move on from this. Now, Republicans, it's kind of 50-50 because I think a lot of folks got to remind our listeners, Lisa, I said this, Fani Willis became the district attorney in Fulton County with a lot of Republican support. And so I thought over the weekend that it was going to be all of these Republicans who were just mad at her because of the relationship and mad at her because of what the judges ruled. No, they're actually like, look, it's a distraction. Yes, it was a little bit of a circus. But ultimately, we believe that, look, we want to get back to the facts. Then you also have some of those Republicans out there that are mad at Fani, but are also mad at Judge McAfee for not removing both Nathan Wade and her from the case. So I think, and I said this publicly last week, she's an incumbent. She's going to have a lot of money. She's already doing fundraising. She's already building up her base. She has a lot of people supporting her. But I think that she's going to be able to highlight other things on her record. But there are going to be some Republicans already, you hear, about the backlog in the DA's office. I heard, who comes on from Brian from time to time. Martha Zoller talked about it, about these rape kit cases that are kind of outstanding.
That's been the story for years and years, though, right?
Yeah.
So look, so has she become a national name off of this? Yeah, but she was already a national name when she decided to go after the former president. How she conducts herself in the courtroom with this case has got to be directly involved in how she conducts her campaign, because now anything she says on the campaign trail, anything she says in that courtroom could impact either or. So I hope that her team has got a laser-like strategic approach to her getting reelected, but making sure that there's nothing said on the campaign trail on a live mic that can interfere with this case and vice versa. There's nothing said in the courtroom or done by her office that can hurt her candidacy for reelection.
Brian, did you hear any murmurings from Republicans that both should have been taken off the case?
Oh, totally. Yeah, that was. I think that was right out the gate. If he is disqualified, she should be too, because they were partners in this. I think on the political end, Fani Willis is very safe. Republicans, independents, they have tremendous problems with her behavior, with her credibility. As Tharon said, many Republicans locally voted for her in 2020. I think she's lost a lot of that support, probably all of that support, frankly, unless there's just no one on the ballot whatsoever to go against her. But right now, she's set up politically just fine. There's no serious Democratic challenger to her. Judge McAfee, also on the ballot, and has some kind of far-left opposition coming after him. I don't really know much about this guy, but he's been a part of some far-left coalitions. And, we saw Judge McAfee wrap up the testimony about Wade and Willis and then take kind of a week off, because that was qualifying week. He wanted to see where the opposition was going to come from, if there was going to be any. There are many other Fulton County judges on the ballot, most of whom did not get competition. He was singled out to get competition. So he kind of wanted to get the lay of the land and then came in the next week. I do believe, I'm not saying that Judge McAfee ruled only based on politics. He was very explicit in saying he did not. And Republicans have given high grades to Judge McAfee. They think he's done a really good job in this case. But I also believe that if Judge McAfee had taken Fani off the case, it would have been the end of his career as a Fulton County judge. He would have lost the race. There would have been a Democratic backlash against him if he had done it. Do I think that had to be somewhere in his mind? Yeah.
You love free. And at Ameris Bank, so do we. That's why we're proud to offer worry-free, hassle-free Ameris Bank free checking. Manage your money your way with convenient access to digital, mobile, and telephone banking, all with no monthly service fee or minimum balance requirements. At Ameris Bank, we're with you. For more information or to open an account, visit our local bankers in person or online at amerisbank.com/free checking. Other fees such as overdraft fees may apply. Ameris Bank, member FDIC, equal housing lender.
Support comes from the Grady Health Foundation, presenting Move for Grady Saturday, April 27th. When you ride, run, or walk for Grady, you help our entire community thrive. There's a distance for everyone, and all proceeds benefit Grady Health System. More at moveforgrady.com.
It remains to see how this will all turn out. What do y'all think about Wade not appearing on Meet the Press? He said he cited family concerns at the last minute.
Yeah.
Let me say this as a black male professional, right? Let's just kind of take it there. I think that was a wise decision for Nathan Wade to not appear on any.
Not say anything.
Right.
Yeah. Not say anything.
Let's take our listeners into what kind of came out. Nathan Wade, for many people you talk to in town, has a pretty good reputation, right? I mean, nothing heard anything inflammatory about this guy. Was a married man, kids, worked at a law firm. People may question his experience in RICO cases. B-Rob did a good job of that over the months. But ultimately, a pretty low-key guy. For people I talk to, pretty good basketball player, like to play pickup games in basketball. But since this case has started and it was exposed about him, I think a lot of things about this man's personal life has been brought to the foresight, right? Not beyond his divorce and how his family's going to feel about that. Some of the things that will come out about his response about women and the role of women in relationships.
His health, yeah.
And then some of his health challenges were exposed. And so if I was, giving any unsolicited advice to Nathan Wade, I would say, man, look, go away quietly. You need to rebuild your career, which I still believe he'll have a legal career in this state. I think he still will be able to get some work and do well for himself. But going on press right now and trying to further talk about this is a bad idea. I think you right now, you turn to your friends, you turn to your family, you start thinking about life after this and how you can make money as a lawyer. But do not, and I mean do not, go on and try to explain a relationship that you had with a current sitting district attorney. You're not ready to answer the cash questions. You're not ready to answer when you started a relationship, when you didn't do it, the whole text messaging thing, the geofencing. I would stay away from the press.
Yeah,
so it was a good decision for him not to be available.
Yeah, it would haunt him all over again for sure.
Yeah. I wondered if maybe Fani saw that he was going to be on Meet the Press, and she texted him with like, "What in the hell are you thinking? No, don't do this.
Go away. Go away.
B-Rob,
Shut
B-Rob,
up."
I would tell you this, B-Rob, I will guarantee this. There's no texting going on between Fani Willis and Nathan Wade.
It's true. It's true.
They
burner phone
they
to
have
burner
a mediator.
They have a mediator.
They got somebody, like, in the politics, like, for instance, Brian, back in the day, if I wanted to get a message to the governor, right, I would go through you to get that message to the governor. They definitely have them a intermediary to get messages to.
Oh my gosh!
Yeah.
Oh my gosh!
I do hope that they've invested in some good burner phones, Tharon, because that obviously caused them some issues. Here's my thing. Here's my advice to people who are in a crisis and are invited to do a high-profile meet, or really any media interview. Can you answer the toughest possible questions? What is the toughest possible question? And what's the worst possible framing of that question? I'm giving you a little insight into some media training we do. And he couldn't answer the most tough questions. Okay, well, why were you in Hateville at 3 a.m? Are you saying you weren't? Did somebody else have your cell phone in Hateville? And you live in Cobb County. Hateville's not some place that you go at 3 a.m. You're not going there for a business dinner, right? That's just not what you do. So I think there are some questions he simply can't answer. The testimony of his former law partner, who was his divorce attorney, was certainly suspect. I think it's what McAfee was calling the odor of mendacity. They don't want to talk about any of that. They have what I call bad facts. And when you got bad facts, you either have to go out there and apologize and say, I was wrong and I'm going to do better, or you just keep your mouth shut, which is the decision he ended up making, and it was the right decision. I agree with Tharon. There is a comeback for Nathan Wade, and he just needs to lay low for a little bit. We know he likes to take some Royal Caribbean vacations. We know he likes Napa Valley. Right? He can go out there.
We know too much, don't we? We know too much.
He can go, have some relaxation. He's made a few $100,000 the last couple of years, and just recoup and then get back out there. Yeah, because there's going to be a new day for Nathan Wade.
You know what, Lisa? As bad as I want to clap back on B-Rob, I would be doing the same thing if the shoes were another foot. If a Republican DA was involved with a Republican, or not even Republican, just a lawyer, and all that stuff is exposed, I would be saying the same thing. So I'm not, no clap back from me, B-Rob.
I don't think he's a bad guy, right? I don't think he's a bad guy. And people that in our circle say nice things about him. And I do want to say, these folks who are in our community have become national figures: Nathan Wade, Fani Willis, Judge McAfee. And I know with Judge McAfee, people in Republican circles who have known him, he's obviously a Kemp appointee, speak very highly of him as a good guy. You said Nathan Wade's a basketball player. I hear Judge McAfee's a really good tennis player and is seen out there at the DeKalb Center on the weekend. So these are normal people in our community who have been put in an extraordinary circumstance. and I try to have empathy for what they're going through, because it's got to be awful. I mean, McAfee's got little kids like Tharon and I do. Yeah. And when you become a national figure, it's scary, not just for yourself, but thinking about weirdos and cranks coming to your house. That kind of stuff's always really concerning. And I don't let that slip my mind when I'm talking about these three people.
Yeah, it was a long 2 months, for everyone, even us watching from afar. Brian Robinson is our Republican strategist. Tharon Johnson is our Democratic strategist. Let's get together and do it again in, 2 days?
That's right.
Thank you.
Hey y'all, I'm Mark Kendall.
And I'm David Perdue.
And we're the hosts of What's Good Atlanta, the new weekly comedy podcast from WABE.
On What's Good Atlanta, we run down uplifting and unusual headlines from the universe known as Atlanta.
And while we may not be journalists, we are comedians, and we'll be breaking down news and breaking down the stories that make you smile.
We're just trying to see what's good, Atlanta.
Episodes drop Fridays at WABE.org or wherever you get your podcasts. I get mine from a guy named Craig.
Shout out to Craig.
WABE.
The world has changed, from shifts in power to a mental health crisis. So with all this social change, how do we balance the human desire for empathy, the business need for productivity, and the hope to make an impact in our community? This is a new podcast, The Social Impact Leader. I'm Jeff Schinnebarker. Join me as we explore people doing work a little different. Available every Wednesday at wabe.org/podcast or wherever you get your podcasts.
WABE.